So, like I say, last but certainly not least, our very own Brett Holmes, who comes to us from Waterloo. For those who don't know, Brett is the Gen Sec of the New South Wales Nurses and Midwives Association and has been since 2002. Brett's worked as an RN, a midwife, a mental health nurse before he joined the association, and he currently represents all 67,000 members of the association, and he'll be outlining the issue for us to date and what you, the nurses and midwives on the floor, should be aware of. Thanks, Brett. Over to you.
Well, thanks, Laura. We've heard some shocking news there from Phil and from Jim. But I want to start off to say it's not over yet. The fight is still on. We obviously went to the community as early as we could, seeking their support. And we've certainly been able to gather quite a lot of support from some of the political parties. And importantly, for this process that the government is proposing, we have achieved some support from the crossbenchers and the Labor Party and the Greens in the upper house of New South Wales. And I'll explain why that's important to understand what's going on with this approach from the government. As Jim said, in 2011, the New South Wales government imposed a wages cap. And the wages cap legislation then imposed a restriction on the New South Wales Industrial Relations Commission, where we used to be able to go and argue for improvements in pay and conditions if we couldn't get agreement at the bargaining table. So the government has held that line about the 2.5% cap, and the alternative was to get more, you had to give up more, so that you had to give actual cash refunds to the government out of your own pocket in order to get 2.5%. So you had to give up some cashable conditions that you might have as part of your award. We've never agreed to that, and we've continued to fight hard for nurse-to-patient ratios, and we've made the claims every single time that we've gone to the table asking for improvements in both wages and conditions. Now, our members have, up to this point in time, accepted that the 2.5% had been a decision of government, and for a number of years that has been a little above inflation. It hasn't actually kept up with some of the real costs of living that people face, but it has been a problem for being able to argue for greater increases. But where we're at right now is, of course, that the government, in its idea of imposing some sort of sharing of the pain of the community as a result of COVID-19, they've come up with this wrong idea about freezing the wages. And as Jim has really well explained there, that's a consequence that runs right across the community. And when you hear about people saying, well, you know, you should stop being greedy or whatever else they're going to throw at us, be sure that the economics is in our favour. And there's particular economics about the fact that the government says it's going to save $3 billion, because that's not only the saving this year, but it's the saving in all future years, that it'll be able to actually use some of that money elsewhere. Well, where they're talking about, they use this modern idea that we'll just call it shovel or screwdriver ready infrastructure. So their whole idea about trying to fix the 200,000 people who have lost their jobs is to say we're going to spend a lot more money in those roads and rail tunnels and, you know, privatised rail, and we'll do that by you know, spending billions of dollars with those French companies that own those tunnelling machines, and a few jobs will get created along the way. But those jobs will be concentrated where they're doing that infrastructure. And the difference, as Jim explained about a wage increase for public sector workers, is that that's spread right across New South Wales. There are nurses, there are police, there are teachers in just about every single community across New South Wales, large and small. And those wages are a way of stimulating the economy. Ironically, Treasurer Perrottet yesterday said that we've given the 2.5% as a stimulant to the economy for the last 9 years, but now we want to stop doing that because we've seen people unemployed, and we want to make sure that we share the pain across the public service, as well as those poor people who have lost their jobs. Well, the shovels and screwdrivers won't be helping the people in rural New South Wales, the cafes, the restaurants, the shops, the small retailers where our members and other public servants spend their money. I can be pretty sure that the people on the shovels and the screwdrivers aren't going out to Narrabeen and buying their nice dress from the local dress shop. I can be pretty sure if they're buying their dresses, they're doing it online in secret. But these changes that the government wants to bring in are a real impact upon the future. And as we heard from Phil, the future of nursing and midwifery is at risk. If we saw that sort of austerity occur that Ireland experienced, then of course you would be going back more than 10 years in where we've made progress. So where we're at is that the government intends to make a regulation. When it changed the wages law, it required a regulation to alter the 2.5%. So it's already said we'll make a regulation. The way it works is that the upper house, the Legislative Council in the New South Wales Parliament, can disallow that regulation. And so far we've got support from the Labor Party, the Greens, the Shooters and Fishers, the Animal Justice Party, One Nation, and Justin Field. They've all indicated that they will vote to disallow this wages freeze. And on the face of it, you would think, well, that should be enough. It's not enough. We need to keep supporting those groups in the upper house who are supporting us now, and make sure that they know how much we really rely upon them and how much we appreciate their commitment to what they are doing. So I urge you to continue to send your goodwill to those members of the upper house, reassuring them that they're making the right decision for New South Wales in standing up against the government's wages freeze. That is one of the most important things we can do. We'll then work from what happens in Parliament. We do not trust the Liberal National Party just to let it go at that first attempt. Previously, when they've been frustrated, they've gone around the normal process that they're indicating now. So the battle will go on, and there will need to be a lot of scrutiny of what the New South Wales Parliament is doing. Governments play tricks like putting through pieces of legislation hidden in amongst other legislation late at night and push it through without anyone really understanding what's going on. So we'll have to be vigilant. We'll have to rely on those members of the upper house. But there's also time for us to continue to place pressure on the New South Wales Government. So next Tuesday, the government sits again, and it's quite possible that they could have already made the regulation and it's then placed on the table, and the disallowance motion could proceed from there. So it's important we keep reassuring those politicians in the upper house, the ones, you know, that are not the Liberal National Party, that they're doing the right thing in opposing this and making sure the wage freeze doesn't occur. We will talk, I'm sure we'll get some, I think there's questions already about industrial action, but I'll address those in the question and answer section. So keep up the great work. Many of you have already participated in activities responding to our requests to send letters to politicians. Magnificent start, 10,000 letters sent into state politicians, so they know a fair bit of what you feel, but there's more to be done. So we'll talk about that before we finish tonight. Back to you, Laura.
Beautiful, thanks, Brett. And thanks to all of our speakers. What a wealth of knowledge we have here today. So I think it's really important to note that we at the association are only as strong as our membership. So if you are not a member, please consider joining us as a member and in this fight. You can do this via our website, or you can seek out your local branch officials, or why not just give us a call.